Howdy, you delicious people! I'm here to review Spice World, the Spice Girls movie. So, it's honestly fairly weird for me to go on and to have rewatched this movie and am talking about it because I was to be alive around the time that Spice Girls was a thing. Because you look at me, I'm probably to be of a certain age, right? So, I go on and I remember the Spice Girls on Total Request Live, TRL. Like I am to have seen this movie when it was to have gotten released. So I knew when this movie was to have been new released, uh to have checked out this film, and I did. So it is kind of weird rewatching it because I had no memory of it really. When I was to go on and check this movie out, the only thing that I remembered was the girls were to have been on this tour bus, and when they would go inside the tour bus, like the tour bus had no real sense of realism whatsoever, because when they went in the tour bus, it just seems like there was just endless amount of just size that this bus had, and that just was like, what? This tour bus is freaking massive. There's no way that all this shit can just fit in this bus. No, that would not happen logically. But anyways, so when going back into this movie now, it is rather interesting because I think a movie like this, without the history of this band, if you just put this movie into a modern release, I honestly think that it would probably would work because a lot of people are really swinging for the fences right now and just putting just anything out there. Really, they really are just like anything that they could. Yeah, like they're just putting out there. Um, so it would still work today if you did this movie. If you just kind of just didn't even have the history of any of these people. So going in to now look at this film, because I had also, like, how I decided to just check this movie out is because I had watched somebody who was to have thrifted, and randomly from time to time they would talk about their Spice Girls collection, and then recently I watched a video where they were finding a Spice Girls doll just in the wild, and they again were talking about their Spice Girls collection, and I'm like, you know what, maybe there's just something about this. Maybe there's something about Spice Girls. Maybe there's something like I remember this movie. So let's do this. Let's talk about it. Let's see what happens with this one. Plus, I would go on to eventually, from time to time, see so many like band movies, like girl band, boy band, just bands needed to go on and do these certain movies. Like when you look at Josie and the Pussycats, the movie, or you would look at like the current modern day thing, which is to be the Jonas Brothers uh, having to make it home for Christmas. Like, yeah, like all of that stuff can just go on and eventually get lumped into stuff like Spice World. And so be kind of like the same kind of movie. So for Spice World, when you go on and you just tear down the basic idea of it, where you have this girl group that needs to, of course, go on and get to this live performance. So everything in between all that is just chaos. It's just like whatever the struggle could ultimately be for preventing them from getting to this live performance. All of that is going to happen within this film. And they basically give you in this movie the kitchen sink of every single possible idea that they could ever put the Spice Girls through. Like, there is like a guy that is going on and doing a documentary of the Spice Girls while this movie's going on. They are going on to have a person meta pitching the Spice Girls movie while the Spice Girls movie is going on. They're doing every single possible thing they could do here to, like, the Spice Girls are being abducted by aliens, the Spice Girls are in a haunted house, the Spice Girls are to join the military. I guess the closest thing to it, bizarrely, it doesn't make sense to me either, but yeah, like, they end up just putting on these camouflage things and going through this obstacle course, and I just don't understand why. Besides, that's just the weird guy that they just latched onto, this Mr. Steps guy. So, I feel like this film is to remind me of stuff like Dude, Where's My Car? And Christmas Vacation. And here's how I'll explain that. So, like, for Dude, Where's My Car? We have these guys that have such a horrible, like, hungover event that they wake up the next day to have to retrace their steps, and everyone comes out of the woodwork involved with that prior night. Like, there's aliens, there's strippers, everything in between to go on and remind these people about what had happened the night before. And they're like, well, hey, we have no memory of that, so I'm sorry, yeah, that is to have gone on and happened, but blank slate, yeah, we don't know how to help you, or we don't know how that was to have gone about being a thing, but cool that it happened, I guess. Or that sucked that it happened. So, and then Christmas Vacation, like, these people are just trying to have, like, just another year of Christmas, and all of a sudden these relatives come out of the woodwork, and trees are to be burnt down, cats are to die, and food is to almost be uneatable or unedible. And eventually Chevy Chase's character just loses his effing mind. So, yeah, like, the chaos that ensues within that film, but the basic idea is just this family wants to go on and just have Christmas. Yeah, like, it kind of fits with even a movie like Spice World to be similar. So, and also that Spice World is really just this goofy comedy thing going on. And at certain points of this movie, there is quite a bit of just nonsense. Like, it's like, man, they just needed to just say words to just kill an hour and a half. But also, they wanted to go on and just, I think, really give these girls just a wide amount of experience that they could probably take for the rest of their career. If they wanted to pursue acting after this or anything else, because, man, this movie did it all. So yeah, so I guess if anything, like, if the girls were not gonna go on and do a movie, like, it would definitely be perfectly fitting to do a movie like this, because, man, does this really help their resume. But maybe not exactly getting acting gigs after this, possibly. But anyways, so with this movie, I feel I have to go on and say this movie was fun. Like, it had its moments. I thought it was fun. And that's all I can think to justify to grade this movie. Like, maybe Spice World could go on to be so bad it's good, kind of. Like, that could be possible. This movie could be written off as just a lot of just filler and nonsense and like something you definitely don't need to go on and ever see again. But once you see it, you're just like, oh, okay, I saw this movie, so I'm done. Uh, completion. Cause yeah, like it's just like if you know about this band, uh, then this could just be like, okay, yeah, like I've probably seen like kind of just some weird ideas of what to do uh, with either certain celebrities or just again like certain bands where like the movie is just like what is this, like why does this have to be a thing? But if anything with this, like it's just like okay, this is fun, like I did like it. So but that said, now I have to go on and kind of give you the cliff version or the cliff notes version of this film. And so instead of going on and explaining about the whole haunted house and the alien abductions and all that stuff, I'm just gonna leave that for like the actual breakdown of this movie. The Cliff Notes version, I'm gonna go on and I'm gonna do this. So we come to find that the Spice Girls, like, they're very popular and they're on this tour, and so they need to go to the Albert Hall. So they're going on and they're doing this uh this interview, this just kind of news thing, and they go on and then they do this practice performance. They go on and they find this girl named Nicola, and she's pregnant, and so they're really spending quite a bit of time with this girl for reasons I don't quite understand. But then eventually we come to find out that this girl within this movie, of course, her water is going to break and she's going to be delivering this child. So again, their kitchen sink everything with this movie. So even delivering a baby, like that's everything that they have to do here. So the girls get on this bus and they end up going through all these weird, wacky things, and they meet all these like random celebrities, like they meet Elton John. They go to this kind of party gala get together. I don't know. But there seems to be a number of just kind of these random celebrities that are all there, and each one of these like Spice Girls have their like individual moments where they're kind of meeting with these people and they're connecting with them in their own individual ways. And again, like there's to be jokes out of these. So the further and further we go along on this road trip, there are people that want to go on and try to figure out a way to humiliate the Spice Girls or want to go on and make it so that they can go on and get the business, the biggest story out of them, which is to really bring in Kevin and Brad. These two people are going on through the daily event, and they're wanting to hope that the Spice Girls will break up so that way they can get a story out of this. So they go on and they hire this guy named Damien. And Damien is to be this guy who, like, will have stalked somebody so well that he has so much dirt on him from his whole entire life. And this is a joke. So Damien goes on and he follows these girls, and none of this news article is really affecting the band specifically. But then eventually, the Spice Girls do go on and they seemingly want to just have this problem that they are thinking about that they may not want to perform. Or they're subconsciously thinking that something is going to happen, specifically with this next live performance. And so they're second guessing whether or not to do it. And that drives not a rift between the band, it just drives a rift from them wanting to perform. And so they go on to, like, just kind of retrace their steps and go back to the old days when they were to have gone on and had no money and just kind of started out with this band and been at this this coffee place with Brian, and we're thinking about the good old days, and so they retract their way back to this coffee place that is now closed down. And so eventually the girls realize that they do want to go on and they do want to perform, but they also realize that, like, because of all the schedule that they've been doing, they no longer have a life. And so they realize, like, well, hey, we should take time to still have some kind of life. We should go on and, hey, like, we have our friend, let's spend time with her. And then that's when the friend ends up having a baby while they're going to this club. So go to the club, have the baby, or go to the club, and then the girl realizes she's having the baby. They rush to the hospital. Also, it's really funny that Meatloaf is in this movie. He plays Dennis, the bus driver, and he goes on and he legit does the song of his. He uses the song as a joke in the film because at one point, like before the Spice Girls ends up getting abducted by aliens, the reason for that is that the toilets are broken. So in the tour bus, and I guess there's more than one toilet within this tour bus, which again makes no sense. Because man, if there is a toilet, yeah, that'd be nice. But also, how is there a toilet in this huge, gigantic tour bus? Again, no sense. So, yeah. So, but Meatloaf goes on, Dennis. He goes on and says, like, well, because Clifford asks him, it's like, well, hey, how about you, the bus driver? Why don't you go on and figure out a way to fix the toilets yourself? And Dennis goes on and says, like, well, hey, you know what? I love the Spice Girls, and I would do anything for them, but I won't do that. And of course, if you guys don't know Meatloaf, he goes on and he has a song, I would do anything for love, but I won't do that. And that's kind of funny. They're like, yeah, and he said the thing, he did the joke. Yeah, that was kind of funny. There's also a time where he sings the words "Mama, I love you," and he says, "Hey, yeah, that's kind of catchy." And I'm wondering if that is another like Meatloaf song. I don't think it is, or maybe that's one of his more popular ones that I don't know. But anyways, so if anything, weirdly, there was a lot of people that just talked about their mother in this movie. It's kind of strange. Anyways, so the girl, she delivers the baby. Everything seems to go smoothly. And then the Spice Girls need to realize that they need to rush to Albert Hall. And during that time we have, because we have like the meta thing going on. There's a documentary going on within the movie, and there is also people that are pitching a Spice Girls movie in within the film. Like they're going on and saying like, well, hey, how about we turn these five girls into these agents and have them all have them all have specialties and this and that, which is like, isn't that kind of already Spice Girls in a nutshell? Like they're all to be called different, like sporty and baby and scary and posh. And, like, what is that? It's basically Spice Girls in a nutshell, but you're just saying that they're special agents. Anyways, so why not just call them like the Power Rangers? Like just like have them be the Power Rangers in the film. Anyways, so because they all have their special things. So we go on to, by the end of the film, have the guy pitching this movie, and as he's pitching the movie, the girls are actually going through every scene for scene what this guy is saying, and I thought that was kind of funny. And eventually, the movie that this guy pitches is basically the movie that you're seeing, and so that is kind of a very interesting meta kind of thing. Then in a very weird way, it's like the movie that was to be the idea was the movie. So yeah, so by the end of this, the girls do of course get to the live performance, because of course they do. And then also by the end of the movie, there is to be like this end credit kind of scene where like it's behind the scenes, like it's the movie before the movie. So all the people are now like pretending that they actually are actors, and they're all like meeting one another, like, oh yeah, like, hey, I'm playing this girl Deborah in the movie, like, oh yeah, hey, it's nice to meet you. And we have the guy who's playing the band manager who's like, well, yeah, like I'm doing this movie and they really want me to yell and all these things. Like, so yeah, so uh and then we get to where they, like, the Spice Girls get so close to the scene and they're now talking to the audience, which is kind of like, and it's kind of funny how Baby even mentions how like people are kind of watching this later on, and yeah. So so with that said, let's go on and let's just go into full on breakdown of this film, because I've already kind of done that in a way. But anyways, I just kind of wanted to get that all out there. This movie's goofy fun, but yeah, like it might be just so good it's bad. It could just be a thing if you have an hour and a half time to waste, and you could go on to, of course, need to watch this movie. Where could you go on and find it? So, if you want to go on and check out this movie, where can you go on and do so? Because I found it to be fun. So, currently the second recording, it's not available anywhere, because of course it's probably not. I think the movie may have got on and like gotten back to just the band or whoever. Like, I don't know. But anyways, like I would go on to say that there are some bootlegish apps that I've used in my time that I recommend for you to go on and check this out on. There'd be one app called Klede Plus, Klede Plus, where you can go on and check this movie out for free. You could also go on and check out this movie on a app called Movie Box 3. So both these, to the current the second is recording, if you go on, you have a Google Play Store. If you have a mobile device, I'd probably recommend like a tablet or an iPad that has a Google Play Store. You should be able to go on and find these apps. Hopefully, be able to download them still, because I had gone on to check a few days ago that they are still available on this app, so, are available on the Google Play Store. So it should be hopefully still available. But either way, I'm sure I could recommend any number of other bootleg apps so you can see this movie, anyways. So with that said, it's about that time to just get into full-on breakdown spoilers and scene for scene, blow for blow. Oh, this movie, because I think it's about that time. I'm also gonna probably try and just kind of rush through me talking about this movie, because I don't really know. Like, I don't really know where people would probably be at with this film. Plus, also, like, I probably would just want to rush through this, um, because it's kind of just uh, really just kind of late for me, and I'm not quite sure if I'm awake enough to get through all this. So, with that said, I think it's about time to get into spoiler time. Spoiler time. It's about that time to again spoil this movie. Let me know in the comments below what is be your favorite Spice Girl song. A couple weeks ago, until I kind of hurt myself, uh, I had gone on to listen to "Spice Up Your Life," and honestly, like I think that song was pretty banging, because I listened to it while I was working out, and eventually, for some reason, um, afterwards, I figured out like okay, like there's something kind of strange going on with my hip and my back, and I'm like, what the heck's going on? Because nothing popped. Nothing, like it was just strange afterwards. I was just like, okay, why am I having these issues? So I don't know what happened. So if anything, when I went to the doctor, nothing was really explained to me either. What could have really happened? So it's just like, okay. So I was like, all right, whatever this is that I'm dealing with now. So with that said, yeah, let's fully break down this movie. Let's pause this here. I'll get on my cast list. Order my this to go on and be a thing that I am to just uh, talk about and figure out how to just rattle off every scene for scene of this movie. So with it, because yeah, like I know scary ginger posh baby sporty. Like how difficult could that be to just rattle off all those things? No, there's just a number of other characters that are involved in this movie besides all that. So with that said, let's pause this movie and get all that out. Elton John is also in this movie. Isn't that great? All right. So while going through this review, I'm not going to pretend that I know every single Spice Girl song, and I'm not going to pretend that I know all the lyrics and stuff like that of certain things. But uh, like I'll say that it's like, oh yeah, I knew this song or I'm familiar with this song, because like yeah, I list like all the songs that were in this movie. Most of them I remember or to have heard. So yeah, because like it was not just "Spice Up Your Life" was the only song I remember from this. So it was kind of cool as just kind of a rewatching this back. I was like, yeah, like they kind of hit like almost every single Spice Girl song that most I remembered, or like, oh yeah, oh they did that one too. Anyways, so this movie starts off with them performing, I believe the song Too Much of Something is Bad Enough. Yeah. Um, and in the background, there's Clifford and Deborah that are watching this performance. Like Clifford is having his fingers in his ears, and it's like, what? Does he hate the music? No, like, if anything, like, when you go on and you go into concerts, like if you're going in for to be like hours and out, like eventually like you want to be able to go on and you want to hear afterwards. So like putting your fingers in your ears is just to muffle the sound, so you can go on and be able to hear afterwards. Because yeah, I would go on and I had gone to like an REO Speedwagon concert. Yeah, it was an REO Speedwagon, and they had like Journey in it. And after I'd gone on to go through that concert, I'm like, yeah, I can't hear a thing after this is over. Because yeah, it's like rock music, and yeah, like so, like I definitely been like, man, I like I wish that we could not have gone on and had like because we were kind of very mid aisle, so it was like, man, if we maybe would have sat more in the back, maybe would have been better off. But like I didn't know, like I never been in a concert before. That was the only time, and since then my only time being in a concert. I was just REO Speedwagon and everything, everybody that kind of opened that thing. So I had never experienced a concert before because I never really had the money to. Um, but also I had been to like wrestling live events. Uh, so yeah, like uh, I was fairly familiar with how loud things could get and stuff like that. So, anyways, as far as like people screaming and chanting, anyways, so yeah, I can understand people having like stuff in their ears to just kind of condense down the noise. So, and we also in the background have Piers and his camera people, his camera crew. I know that the camera crew also have individual names, but I don't really care. I don't think there's a point to need to know who they are. Plus, also it just saves me time having to look up who they are. So so the next thing after this performance, we have Clifford that is going on and taking the Spice Girls and letting them know that they can go through a certain area and there's not going to be a single person trying to stop them to get autographs or anything like that. Like basically lying to them. Because I think Clifford does go on and eventually goes out and meets with some random guy and says like, "Well, hey, like I kind of told you ahead of time." So yeah, they kind of set this whole thing up. So while the Spice Girls are going on, we then have Piers with his crew, and he's filming this documentary where he's going on of like, oh, seconds from now, the Spice Girls will go on and make their way through these halls and and chaos and energy will ensue. Yeah, they just walk right past them, and then Pierce is like, oh, well, did you guys get that? Like there was no chaos, there was no energy. It was just them just walking by. And like, oh, wow. Like I guess they just needed a thing to just pad in their documentary. So yeah, Clifford goes on and tells the girls that all the people, all the screaming women, like and everybody just assume that the Spice Girls will be coming from out the front instead of the back, but the girls are there. So the Spice Girls go on and they start signing autographs and getting on the bus, and then again we go into the bus, and the bus is freaking huge, uh, huge. Like I would go on to watch guys through YouTube give their bus tours, and nowhere would I ever go on. Like guys who are rock bands, I would also see like pro wrestlers. They would give their bus tours. Never would I ever go on and see a bus this big. So, if anything, for those of you who have never gone on and seen um, those kind of things, which that I'm talking about, yeah, this bus is ridiculously not ever what I would think a tour bus would go on and actually be, as far as accuracy. But if anything, for the movie, yeah, I guess it needs to just be like this huge. So we start driving along, and like we have these huge lip couches, and like Baby Spice is or Emma, she's on this swing, and scary or Mel, she's looking uh for her boots. So Ginger or Jerry, she starts going on and talking about, hey guys, do you want to hear your horoscopes? And all of a sudden, once she chimes in about that, it seems that all the Spice Girls start to have their opinions about horoscopes and like how people should not put down Capricorns or uh, or which horoscope sign the Spice Girls are. So I guess that's a little Easter egg of like, oh, well, you're Aquarius. Oh, well, you're this. Oh, well, you're that. So on and so forth. So while this is also going on, Posh, she's trying to figure out what dress to wear. And the girls are kind of knocking her down because she wears the exact same dress all the time. She wears this like little skimpy little black Gucci dress, and so they're going on and they're mocking her because like, oh, well, what are you gonna wear? This little skimpy black Gucci dress, this uh, little black Gucci dress. Like, what are you gonna wear? Like, so like I didn't notice Posh that much. Like, it's hard to not notice, but like I didn't notice that Posh would just go on and just wear like the because like I didn't think to notice that Posh just wears the same thing all the time. Like yeah, I didn't notice that. Plus also there are some times where I write off Posh is like maybe a little bit emo because some of the times just the way that you would look just seemed a little emo to me. Uh, but if anything, yeah, like anyways, pushing on. So eventually, Scary goes on to figure out where her boots are, and Jerry has them. So eventually, all the Spice Girls dogpile over Jerry, and Posh does figure out that she wants to go on and wear the black Gucci dress. Not the one that she was already wearing, just another one that looks almost identical because it probably is. So pushing on to them going on and doing this like this press junket or whatever this interview thing is. So Clifford goes on to I think tell the girls that they're going to be answering a lot of dumb questions and doing this whole interview thing. So because they're doing this because they're going to promote that next Saturday at 8 o'clock, for the first time ever, the Spice Girls are going to perform live at the Albert Hall. So this interviewer goes on and they turn to the girls and they want them all uh to explain what they're doing, but explain what they're doing all in a different language. And so this interviewer turns the mic on the girls and they all have to say all this stuff in different languages. And I was like, wow, okay, like you would think that any one of these girls would probably be worried that they would F this up, but uh, maybe it was to have been that these girls had practiced this over and over and over again, or actually know these languages, so it wasn't that hard. But still, it's just like, man, uh, that would kind of be wild to be in a band and you need to know like all or a good chunk of just other languages. Well, I guess you could probably look at it as like sometimes bands have to go on and perform music in other languages to just appeal to wider audiences. But anyways, um, so now we go on and we have this movie producer, and we also have a guy by the name of I think his name is like Gaiden or something like that. Yeah, or Graydon. Graydon, not Gaydon, Graydon. Graydon and a movie producer named Martin. They're going on and they're watching these girls do this interview. And once they watch the girls do this interview, oh, I forgot about the time that the Spice Girls had met Elton John and they kissed him. I kind of really fast tracked through that. So Graydon, the movie producer, goes on to see these Spice Girls and like, well, hey, we could probably make a movie out of this. So like there are five girls, like yeah, we could probably pitch something, right? And so they're talking about which Spice Girls they like. It's like, yeah, Sporty's the one to like, right? So I didn't want to bring this up because like I think it'd be kind of wrong to narrow down. Um, yeah, for me, my favorite Spice Girl when I was to be in the thick of things, I honestly think that I either gravitated towards Sporty or I liked Baby. But every once in a while I was like, you know what, I can like Ginger, I could like Jerry, or even I could probably like I could just kind of just balance around like if anything, like all the girls were interesting in their own rights. So like I don't know, like I didn't want to really pick a favorite because I kind of felt wrong. But yeah, if I had to pick a, I think I would like if I had to pick a favorite, I would probably say Sporty. For the most time, like I think I really did like Sporty. So it's kind of weird to hear these guys talk about it because like probably now, like I'd probably look at it and be like, yeah, I like Sporty. Um, but anything, let's push on here. So we have Martin and we have Grader, and so they're talking about all these girls being singers, and this could be a good idea for a movie. And so Martin's like, okay, we'll pitch something in the afternoon. What are they pitching? Just nothing clear yet. So we now cut to Clifford on the tour bus. And so he's going on figuring out the schedule. Uh, as he's talking to his chief, his superior. And so they're talking about the show on Saturday and they're talking about rehearsals and bizarrely uh Clifford is talking about how they're hungry in their bellies and that they and that they have big shoes and so I'm not getting in the nitty gritties of all this weird goofy nonsense that they go in and they talk about because eventually uh like Clifford is talking about going after the paparazzi and talking about watching the feathers fly and blood on the walls. I'm like, what the fuck is he talking about? What? So, and the chief, of course, kind of tells Clifford, it's like, hey man, you're going a little bit too far. And Clifford's like, oh, okay, all right. So, and coincidentally, this guy's cat name is Puss. So, that's pretty nice. So, after Clifford hangs up with the chief, Deborah goes on to say to Clifford, it's like, well, hey, what was he talking about? And here's where Clifford is like, I have no idea, but he's right. Drummer. So now we cut to the girls doing this rehearsal. And at some points in the rehearsal, we had this like rehearsal director guy, and he's kind of snapping his fingers. So while this rehearsal is going on, we have the guys that are doing the documentary, and the guy who's doing the documentary is Pierce, and he's talking about, man, I want to get the window of the soul of these girls, and like I want the audience to really get into the mind's eye of the Spice Girls, and get really deep into their subconscious, and really like get to have the audience get to know the Spice Girls, and so, and again, just nonsense. So all of a sudden we have a guy on the keyboard and he messes up, so the girls are like, okay, like let's get back at this. So all of a sudden, here's when Nika ends up coming in, or Nicola comes in here, the girl who's pregnant. So all of a sudden, they end up taking a break, and the girls are all storm around this girl who don't know why she's in the movie, but she's here because pregnant girl eventually delivers baby. So that's the thing that ends up being in the later half of the film. So the girls all gather around this girl and they ask her like, well, hey, like, how are you doing, like, how are you feeling? And the girl is just talking about all the pain that she's in, and so Pierce is going on to say to the camera crew, hey, like, are you paying attention to this? Like, hey, like, get your cameras ready, like, just watch this, just check this out. So eventually Nicola is going on and saying how her husband or boyfriend or whatever, Trevor, how she left her. And so we have a guy with a boom mic coming in, and Posh turns to the boom mic guy and tells him, like, do you mind? Don't film. This is private. So the guy's like, okay, well, he walks away. Like, I'm sure they're gonna just still film, but from a distance. So Pierce goes on and runs into Clifford, where he's giving him the idea of what they're trying to accomplish within this documentary for him to okay it. So Nicola goes on to eventually say to the girls that she's curious what the girls would be like when they have children. And so next, all of a sudden, we go into this. So all the girls are all living together, which is kind of like, okay, yeah, like, I, I don't know if I quite buy every single 5 girls living together in one place, but I'm sure they do really enjoy one another's company. But yeah, anyways, so every single one of the girls are to seemingly all be pregnant here, and so Baby Spice is talking about her poor back, mentioning about how all of her kids are all bleeders because she has like 6 kids by this point. So Posh is to mention how all of her kids go to boarding school, so she never really sees them. Do they come to boarding school right out of the womb? So Sporty is going on and she's on her exercise bike. Yeah, like, so we've already had like, I think we've already had 2 scenes with Sporty on this exercise bike at this point now. Not the same exact exercise bike, but like, I guess we have to just tick the notch of every time we see Sporty on an exercise bike, because by the end of the movie, Sporty goes on to say, "Hey, yeah, don't shoot me, on an exercise bike too much in this film. So Sporty is mentioning about her kids wanting to become a singer, but Sporty goes on to say that she wanted to tell her kids instead, how about you go on and go to college and get a proper job? Like, aren't you kind of ruining their dreams? But if it, like, yeah, I get also, it's like you want them to like have a really good life, and maybe singing maybe would not go on and give them that kind of really good life. Like, I can get that because maybe like Sporty has gone through the business, and maybe uh yeah, this is kind of what she would go on and just kind of give them as advice. But if anything, yeah, like the kids just want to go on and just be singers. So cut to now Jerry, who's poking poking the wall and talking about turning down that racket of music. So now the girl's back into modern time, or their present time, and they need to walk away because they realize that they need to get back into rehearsals. And we have Pierce and the cameraman all just kind of making their way to just see or just get the camera on the girls. Pierce is going on and guiding the cameraman, and he keeps telling them where to go. He's like, oh yeah, focus on Jerry here. Focus on Posh here. Which one's Posh? That one. And so on and so forth. Oh no, hey, now focus on Sporty because she's having her moment. So after they go on and they do um uh God, which is this song? Like "Say You'll Be There" or something like this. "Say You'll Be There," giving you everything, all the joy. Yeah, something like that. Uh, I can't remember the exact song. But anyways, so the next thing we see is the daily event. Um, Spice Girls set to conquer the globe. So the next thing we see is the daily event sign and building to follow. And we see a guy named Brad and a guy named Kevin. So Kevin is going on and starting to get more and more annoyed that he's seeing the Spice Girls on every newspaper everywhere because they're popular, because they're the viral thing. They're good looking, so why shouldn't they be on magazines? So as Kevin and Brad are just realizing how popular these girls are, they realize that they want to get more stories out of them. But if anything, instead of getting positive stories, they want to get negative stories. They want to figure out a way to really get some dirt on these girls. And also, it was kind of a funny moment where they would go on and say how maybe the Spice Girls would go on and cure deja vu, and then they repeatedly say that to be like, hey, is anybody gonna notice that they said that twice? So Kevin is desperate for Brad to hope that he can find somebody that is gonna go on and really get the dirt for the Spice Girls, and hope that maybe that there could be a news article that says Spice Girls fall out, Spice Girls split up, and so on and so forth. And as weirdly enough, all of a sudden there seems to be some kind of weird weather condition going on in this room because all of a sudden the room is starting to rain. I don't know why that has to be a thing, because I just got on briefly kind of rewatched a movie called Die in a Gunfight, and bizarrely there was this couple that was inside this restaurant, and then all of a sudden there's rain going on in the restaurant, and I was like, okay, this is wild. This is kind of goofy. Uh, but if anything, also like that movie was just kind of like this weird, goofy movie that made no rhyme or reason of sense. Because eventually, at one point, like there's this guy that is going on and just sounding like a monkey, and he's just acting like a monkey and jumping on top of the table, and so does his father, and they're just acting like monkeys. So, anyways, so I guess that's probably why it's so popular on YouTube now, because evidently it came on my radar as something that I needed to uh, adjust my thumbnail to, because feasibly the thumbnail I had, it was like really old, and like I just decided to just adjust thumbnail because of how actually popular it was. So cut to the girls on the tour bus. So Jerry and Scary are going on and they're playing chess. And so they're going on and they're talking about like all this kind of goofy stuff. They're talking about Mr. Chess and they're talking about how Jerry, I think, had checkmated Mel, and they're trying to figure this out. So cut to Martin, Graydon, and uh, and Clifford. They're at this table together, and Graydon is going on and pitching the Spice Girls movie. So, and this guy is basically pitching every possible idea. Graydon goes on and at first is to uh um talk about how the Spice Girls would be five sisters. And there's a parent that goes on and disappears, and so that ends up being a pitch. And it's an elderly grandmother. Then they go on and they do this pitch where Sporty is this Olympic athlete, and she has a fear of heights and the snow, and all she needs to do is just get some skis, and I think that is the same pitch for the same movie. Like, weirdly enough, like we have five girls, but only one of them can do something. So the next pitch is to go on and have the Spice Girls all be these agents. And they all have their certain expertise. And like we even have Sporty that has this like Mission Impossible, like she drops from these ropes and she does this like this little flick and then she scores this soccer goal. And Scary is to be this explosive expert. She hits down this explosives and she blows up the wrong thing. And Jerry is to be this uh, this person that can switch identities. And she comes out of this phone booth and she becomes Bob Hopkins, the guy from Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and the guy who's in the live action Super Mario movie, the original one. If there ever is to be another one, yeah, trying to save face here. So, and he comes out of the thing like, "Hey, girl power, equal to the sexes," and all that. So, Anyways, so Clifford goes on and says like, well, hey, like, so yeah, when they go on and they do all that, like when they get to reality, like what do they do? And Graydon doesn't have an answer, so he's like, okay, maybe we'll have another pitch, and then he throws out the word crocodiles, and then the pitch stops. So the Spice Girls are all going on, and they are, and here's where Sporty, second time she's on the bike. So the Spice Girls are all talking here, and they talk about how Baby can probably get away with murder for how innocent she is, and how like she can kind of just get away with anything. So we all of a sudden play out like Hugh Laurie's in this movie, the guy who was in the show House, and probably a number of other things, but House is where I kind of know him from. And he used to play this guy named Perriott in this movie. So Perriott, it seems, is to be this investigator, and he's going through and looking at all these people, and he's like, okay, there is someone in this place that has gone on and riddled someone with hundreds of machine gun bullets. And so eventually they further and further go through the line of all these people. And then immediately they get to Baby Spice, and she basically looks like Rambo. She has all of these bullets all over her. She has this axe and this machine gun in her hands, and Perriott is looking at her, and after a little bit of hesitation, he immediately turns to Father Conan Murphy, and they're like, "Oh, how could he have?" So they're also going on. So we're back with the Spice Girls now. The Spice Girls are all of a sudden going on and talking about fish because Scary Spice seems to have something of fish. Because we just have so much in this bus that we have this huge fish tank, and it makes no sense. So we have Ginger that's all of a sudden talking about a manta ray. Because again, connecting to the whole fish thing, and it's just some random fact. And so, if anything, Posh kind of retains what Jerry had mentioned about manta rays, and then eventually we'll talk about it later on. So we now have this photo shoot that the Spice Girls were involved in. So the photographer is going on and just saying all these kind of random things that make no sense. The photographer is going on and telling the Spice Girls, "Give it to me!" Like, do this, do that, da. So his Spice Girls are going on and they're talking here, and they're saying like, well, hey, maybe we should go on and maybe we should like add a new character in the Spice Girls. Maybe we should go on and have like Bricklayer Spice, or maybe we should have like Train Spotter Spice. So and like well, hey, what if like one of the Spice Girls, maybe they're interested in other spices, like so we have the photographer that is going on and like shouting out for energy and all these kinds of things. So eventually the Spice Girls all walk away as they say that this whole thing is a little bit cheesy, and so they walk off. So the Spice Girls decide that they're going to create their own photo shoot, and their photo shoot ends up actually being pretty interesting because, like, I'm not sure about all the references of which that they used. Like, we obviously see like the Charlie's Angels here. We see like Elvis, maybe Jimi Hendrix, and some other uh like rock musician that I'm not quite aware of. They use Grease here. Jerry, of course, is be dressed like Wonder Woman. Uh, I'm not quite sure exactly who Scary Spice is dressed as. Is the red? Like, I want to say maybe Tina Turner, but I don't quite understand that reference. Uh, Jerry is to go on and be dressed like Marilyn Monroe. Scary Spice is to be dressed like a, a cave woman. Uh, Baby Spice is to be dressed like a hippie. Hippie, I guess. Uh, Posh is to dress like a Bond woman and is to be talking about Bond. Uh, and like trying to be like a Bond girl. So that was kind of fun. So she just has a knife and she just has this bra, and that's, I guess that's it. That's all she needed. So next up we have all the Spice Girls that are dressing like any other Spice. So for example, we have Jerry that comes in and she's dressed as Sporty Spice. We have Sporty that's dressed as Posh. We have Scary that's dressed as Jerry or Ginger. And we have Baby Spice that is dressed as Scary Spice or as Mel B. And Posh is dressed actually as Baby Spice. And so each one of them are all going on and pretending to be one another, and it's kind of funny because they're actually all pretty good at it. So they all get together kind of just to do this photo shoot, and then eventually they all complain about how their outfits are so uncomfortable. And yeah, these are things that all of them tend to wear consistently. So, and then also Jerry's mentioned how very comfortable her clothes is for how baggy they are. And Sporty's like, well, hey, don't get any ideas. So now we're back with Kevin and Brad, the guys who were to be at the daily event, the newspaper guys, and they want to go on and drag the Spice Girls to the ground. This really does go on and honestly, interestingly enough, be like a movie of the times because there is no newspaper anymore. Like if now it would be like an online thing that they would have to like get clicks or something like that. So like it's a completely different ballpark now because there is not much of any real newspaper thing going on. Like things have just drastically changed. So Brad has to go on and bring in a guy named Damien, and Kevin doesn't believe that Damien really has the skills, and so Damien goes on and brings in a bunch of photos for Kevin of him like picking his nose and doing all these like awkward things, and he goes on to have basically followed this guy throughout his entire life and has pictures of everything he's ever done. Like when he was 12 or this or that. And then Kevin's like, oh, yeah, I think this guy is pretty good. So now we're back with the Spice Girls tour bus. Clifford goes on to mention how there is to be some kind of balled up hair within the sink, and the girls really need to go on. and clean that out because it's really been plugging the shower holes. So uh like to try to avoid flooding, like hey, like really try to clean that out before you get out of the shower. So we finally have one of the Spice Girls that it's kind of like they're kind of getting upset that Clifford has to like do this as a loudspeaker thing because it just consistently ends up being a thing in this movie. So here's where we have the Spice Girls and they make their way to meeting up with all of these celebrities. I don't know who all these people are whatsoever. So if they are celebrities, I have no idea who they are. But if anything, they're going to this gallery, this gala of people that I guess are important. Some I have no idea. So Pierce and his camera crew are trying to get into this party, and they won't be allowed in. So at some point, Nicola ends up coming into this party, and so Pierce is hoping that they will just follow her, and she ends up giving them one of her invitations because she doesn't have a plus one. So Pierce ends up telling the guy, it's like, well, hey, I think this is a time where three become one. I had gone to listen to that song fairly recently. So because it's two become one, because Scary Spice goes on to mention about how basically that song "To Become One" is about sex, because obvious, right? Like they're doing it, so yeah, to become one, sex. I don't know what interview she goes on and says that in. Like I don't know if it's the Howie Mandel interview or if it's the interview uh where she's like talking to the girl and there's the one interview one that she does with the woman where she's wearing the MTV hoodie or something, and I think she may have said that there. I'm not quite sure exactly which one it was, but either way, um, I had watched a good number of Mel B interviews. So let's push on here. So Posh all of a sudden is talking to this fashion woman, and eventually they get to talk about clothing. And all of a sudden, Posh is talking about a manta ray, and the girl, I guess, has to connect everything with manta ray, and so she talks about how there's a fashion clothing line that's to be of a manta ray, and she's like, "Oh yeah, yeah." Like I have their whole collection. I have this and this and this. So we have Mel B that is going on and talking with this guy, and she's upset with how his hair looks, and she'll go on and she'll make his hair up to look basically like hers, how like she has those like horns coming out of her head, and when she goes on and she adjusts his hair and then shows him it, like he immediately hates it. So Jerry is going on and talking to a nervous guy, and Jerry mentions about how it's tough for her to go on and talk to guys because sometimes the guys end up sounding very nervous and stumble upon the words and and like so it's kind of funny that she's saying this because ironically the guy is going to act that exact way, and also I think that is a just a funny joke how like, she brings that up and that's how the guy is going to act to her. So Nicola goes on and meets up with the Spice Girls, and Nicola's mentioning the Spice Girls how she wants to go on and have them become her grandmothers and not choose just one because that would be unfair. And so that is kind of interesting to have kind of brought her back to kind of have her have something to say here. So Posh is to mention it's like, well, hey, like a godmother doesn't go on to have stretch marks, which I thought was funny. So the Spice Girls go on and they walk away from Nicola, and Nicola meets up with a guy named Bartleby, and like they start talking and they're maybe even hitting it off, but then Bartleby just kind of walks away. So Pierce with his crew is to want to go on and finally ask the girls a question. And so Pierce is to say, you know what, I want to go on and I want to ask the Spice Girls like one of some of the big questions. How has their relationships molded them? And so on and so all of a sudden in the background we have Damien. And Damien's poking his head out of this fruit bowl. So Pierce goes on and turns to the Spice Girls and ends up asking them about relationships. And their answer is just kind of oh well. So like we do have Posh that kind of answers it like for kind of what she's looking for. But sorry guys, she's taken. Uh so but the one thing they say that kind of stuck out to me was they mentioned like, well, yeah, I wish I could get a guy like I could order a pizza. Which I'm like, well, when you kind of think about it, like there are several places that have like dating profiles. So like in a way, like if you really think about it, like there are some avenues where yeah, it does feel like you're going on and you're looking through a certain person's profile and it could feel like ordering a pizza. It's like, man, if he just didn't have pepperoni on it, or, well, hey, yeah, if he did have pepperoni, then I would like him a little bit more and I would want to date him, but he just didn't have the exact ingredients that I like. Oh, that's too bad. So at one point, like they make a joke about like, is the Pope Catholic? And it kind of completely gets taken out of context. And all of a sudden, Damien uses that as a thing to have this news report and newspapers, whatever, run with that the Spice Girls are questioning whether or not the Pope is Catholic. Oh, how dare they? They said something about religion. So the next thing they have is like a bishop who goes on to confirm, yeah, the Pope has to be Catholic, or otherwise he would not have been Pope. Like, of course he is. Like, so the bishop even further goes on and says, like, yeah, like, what evidence does the Spice Girls have that the Pope isn't Catholic? And he goes on and on and on about that. So we're even having like Deborah who's watching this on the television. So as Clifford and Deborah are watching this, they're realizing that this could possibly affect the band. because this could be backlash. There could be problems with this. And so we would of course go. So it is kind of funny when Clifford does have interactions with Chief at some point, because there's this one specific moment where Clifford is to want to have the girls take some time off, and so he's like, okay, I want to go on and I want to talk to the chief because I think it's in the band's best interest if the girls have some time off. So Clifford goes on to say, yeah, I'm gonna finally, like, I'm gonna get my confidence up, and like I gotta be a man, and I'm gonna tell the chief that these girls need time off, and I'm gonna be assertive and this and that. So we have Clifford that is going on and telling Deborah all this to have it be a thing that is going to preempt him to say this to the chief before. So all of a sudden the phone rings and Clifford picks it up, and the chief tells Clifford as if the chief has already read the lines of this movie, the dialogue of it, and the chief goes on and tells Clifford, hey, yeah, the girls can't get time off. Like, I know you're already going to go on and call me to tell me all this. And no, they're not going to have time off. Like, it just doesn't work in the schedule. So, I actually loved that moment. I I laughed at that moment. I thought that was funny. So, but if anything, that doesn't be what exactly happens here. So, the chief and Clifford are talking. So, he ends up doing this weird, goofy analogy about the hook of darkness and uh and things being clean or not. Again, it makes no sense. So we now cut to a airplane off the distance, and it says a flight from London to Milan. Uh, and so the next thing we see is the Spice Girls, and they're performing via this TV director because they need to do this for their show. And while the Spice Girls are going on and they're performing, all of a sudden in the background, these guys with these sailor hats come out, and all these guys are wearing are these like underwear. And so Clifford is going on and looking at all these guys, and so the Spice Girls are like, what the heck is this? So the Spice Girls are upset, so Clifford is then upset. Because the Spice Girls are like, yeah, why are we going on and performing with these guys that are just basically mostly naked? So Clifford goes on and speaks to the TV director, and then all of a sudden they start talking about their families and start talking smack about them. Random smack that makes no sense. So as Clifford further and further like starts to diminish this guy's family, he says, "I'll kill you for that." And so here's a funny thing. So Baby goes on and is talking to the sailor guy, and she's mentioning about all the stuff that she has and that there's no room for this sailor guy. I love that. So the TV director says they need to do this TV spot. And so they need to do it or they will be sued. So eventually Clifford and the TV director work something out. They compromise. So the next thing we see is to eventually see them do the performance. And so as the girls are performing this, come on, come on, do you want to be in my gang, my gang, my gang? Yeah. So all of a sudden, we see the guys in the background and they are dancing. And Deborah and Clifford are talking and like, oh my God. So, yeah, you got them to be dressed. Like you got the guys out of these different costumes and now they're more dressed. And Clifford is like, well, yeah, like I did get them to change the outfits, but we had to compromise. So eventually the guys do turn around and you could basically see their ass cheeks. So it's like, well, I guess that's a compromise. They're basically wearing the equivalent of assless chaps. So we cut to another airplane that's just in the air and it says Milan to London. And I'm like, okay, they couldn't figure out a better way to cut that. I guess the budget had to just go somewhere, right? So here's the part where the tour bus, like their bathrooms, all break down at the same time. So the girls are all going on to the woods because they need to go to the bathroom. So all the girls get out of the bathroom, and so Clifford ends up having to stop the bus because all the girls need to go. So all the girls go outside, and Clifford is mentioning about how it makes no sense that the bathrooms are broken. And so here's where Clifford ends up asking Dennis, the driver, hey, why don't you go on? How about you fix the toilets? And Dennis is like, well, hey, I love the Spice Girls, but if anything, like, and I would do anything for them, but I won't do that. Oh, no, no way. I would do anything for, yeah. So, just referencing that song. So, and I really liked. I thought I got a good pop out of that. I got a good haha out of that. So the girls are now going into the woods, and the further and further they go, uh, they are starting to get a bit scared and probably lost. So all of a sudden, there is a spacecraft that just comes out of nowhere from the sky, and they want to run away from it, but they can't move. They're too scared. They're terrified, so much so that they can't move. So these aliens come out of the spacecraft, and eventually it seems that the Spice Girls eventually can understand what the aliens are saying, which is weird. So the aliens go on and they spot the Spice Girls, and they're like, "Oh my God, this is the Spice Girls!" So the aliens are going on and asking the Spice Girls if they have any available tickets left for Albert Hall, and like, "No, I'm sorry, we don't have any tickets left." So one of the aliens go on and just grab uh Mel B on the chest, and I'm like, "Who just does that?" So like, be an alien gentleman. Come on, like at least buy her dinner first before you cop a feel. And so, but we do also have a point where Jerry goes on and kisses one of the aliens on the face. So the Spice Girls are willing to go on and give the aliens some autographs, and one of the autographs ends up asking if Sporty can sign one of the autographs for his brother. And so Sporty ends up asking, like, hey, what's the name of the brother? And so he goes on and he says the name. And Sporty's like, how many K's is that? 4? Okay, all right. So she's writing out this huge long stretch of a name because the subtitle is like right on the movie, and it's like 30 letters long, I think, or something along those lines. So, like, it's a ridiculously long name. So, like I think Posh also like signs one of the aliens' chests, probably to get a tattoo later on. So so after the whole alien abduction thing, uh and after like the Spice Girls get a picture with all the aliens, so there's proof that exists. Well, the aliens probably just have the proof. So the aliens make their way back, or the Spice Girls make their way back to the bus, and the Spice Girls go on and tell Clifford about their experience with them basically being with the aliens. And Clifford is like, well, wait a minute, like, the girls were talking to me about aliens at this point. Like, maybe they've really exhausted themselves. And here's where Clifford goes on and says, maybe I should go on and talk to Chief and say that these girls really need time off. And then here's where Chief ends up getting on the phone of like, no, they can't have time off. Of course not. So, and Clifford was already going to go on and give the Spice Girls time off, but now he has to go back in there and tell them, oh no, like the schedule won't allow for you guys to have time off because I already talked to the chief. The Spice Girls go on and say that Clifford is joking, and the further and further they talk to him, like the more upset they're getting. So the Spice Girls all start to storm out, but then they come back in and they're like, aha, fool, yeah, haha, we got to you. So like Clifford was even promising them ice cream and all kinds of things just to get them to stay. So Clifford goes on to explain to the girls through this intercom that they're going through this dance boot camp or dance camp. So, because they're going to go on and meet up with Mr. Step. So, because this guy is to be a dance teacher. So, the Spice Girls go on and go to this like farm, this barn or whatever, and they meet up with Mr. Step, and this is to be a guy that is to be full on in like military attire here. And so Mr. Step, as they figure out that this guy is Mr. Step, it seems like his like dances are much more so like a military-esque like style. And as they're going on and they're trying to like mimic what Mr. Step is saying and doing and trying to like follow along and how he's talking about his mother and it's very nonsense. Uh Eventually the Spice Girls are like, well, hey, we'll follow what you do, but we're gonna kind of also do our own thing. And so there seems to be a song that comes in with the Spice Girls, and they start to kind of do their own little like they take their hands and they kind of do this and they kind of do their own little kind of thing similar to Mr. Step. And then he's like, okay, girls, march. So as the girls march outside, they all of a sudden have camouflage clothes just appear on their bodies for some unusual reason. And so Mr. Step starts to have all the girls just do this obstacle course, except for Posh. Posh just walks around the obstacle course, which I thought was hilarious. So the girls who are doing the obstacle course, some of them are like are tripping and falling and whatever, and it's kind of funny. But anyways, so the girls go on and they make it through the obstacle course, except for Posh, who just walks around it. And so now we're late at night, and the girls are to go on, and they're all nestled up in their beds. So Damien appears in the most strangest possible way he could appear here. So Damien is coming from this toilet, and as he's coming from this toilet, we just consistently have these girls that all start to awaken because of some kind of sound that like seems unusually louder than it probably should be. So Damien's body comes out of this toilet, and eventually when he starts to like dust himself off, Posh wakes up, Scary wakes up, Sporty wakes up. Uh, Damien goes on and makes a picture of the toilet, and he goes on and makes his way out of the bathroom, and Jerry wakes up because she gets scared. So some of the girls go on and they meet up by this stairway, and they start to meet up all together in this bed, and they're talking about all these horrible dreams that they've been having, and how one of them ends up dreaming about how they don't have makeup on, and one is dreaming about how they go to this live event but they can't sing at all. Like, if anything, they try to sing but nothing comes out. And I'm sure like any number of other people like could have just stage fright or some kind of issue that would connect with any of these things that they're saying here. So, but if anything, also they're just kind of scared of this house that they're in, and they're talking about how like this is an old house and it's probably an old haunted house, and they go further and further into the detail about how scary this house is. So, but if anything, the Spice Girls are very much hesitant about performing on this live event because of just what they're kind of mentally dealing with. And Damien underneath this bed is to overhear this all and eventually use this as another article or another newspaper thing. So Clifford is going on and reading this news article from a distance, and he's taking these daggers and chucking it at this news article and being very much upset about the people who are posting this nonsense. But for some reason, he continues to read it because it, I guess, affects his job. So the girls are all now gathered together in what looks like almost they're all wearing robes. So Clifford is going on and chucking this news article by the girls, and Clifford is getting more and more upset. And like he's enraged, and like he just wants to scream and yell. So eventually, as finally Clifford leaves, they're just like, God, he is so uptight. Man, he really needs to go on, and he really needs some like yeah. Like they're saying how he probably doesn't get enough bacon, and they're like, you know what, like if anything, who would probably be perfect for him? The only girl that's on this tour besides any of the Spice Girls. How about Deborah? Yeah, Deborah hasn't had been with anybody in 6 months. So, if anything, maybe if we can figure out how to get Deborah and Clifford together, but then like, well, maybe Deborah is not Clifford's type. So they're trying to figure it out. So it's kind of funny how Jerry goes on and she mentions uh how in some cultures in some animals that some animals go on and how they try to alert uh a woman that they're attracted to, they pee on them. And Baby's like, well, yeah, I'd much prefer a guy to just give me a bouquet of flowers and tell me how much he likes me by doing that. So, oh, okay. So we now cut to again Graydon. Graydon is with Clifford, and he's going on and he's trying to pitch yet another thing for the Spice Girls. Here is where Creighton goes on and he talks about the Spice Force 5, where all the Spice Girls are all special agents. And God, this is such a stupid idea. So Clifford goes on and eventually is to say it's like, okay, well, when the Spice Girls end up getting to reality, what reality are they going to be in once they're not agents anymore? And Graydon is like, well, what reality do you want them to be in? Basically saying if these girls are all to be double agents, like what are they going to be other than being double agents? Are they going to have a life outside being agents, or are you just going to focus on the agent part? Is probably what Clifford is getting to, and that's the point where Graydon didn't really have an answer for that. So now we cut to two kids who had gone on to win a competition for their school to be able to spend time with the Spice Girls. So again, we're doing everything here, even stuff that goes on and connects with, uh, bands about how they would go on and have these constant content winners end up getting a win a date with the Spice Girls or something like that. So we have Piers that is going on and talking with these kids, and it's kind of hilarious because when he's talking to them, he doesn't really get he doesn't really give them anything but a one word answer, and then he cuts away from them and then he continues talking because he's trying to make himself more of the focus here. So eventually Pierce walks away and the kids are all upset because man, that guy didn't let us talk at all. So Clifford and Deborah bring the kids in to let them meet up with the Spice Girls. The Spice Girls seem to have all these balloons around, and it seems like it's these kids' birthdays. I don't know what's going on here. It's wacky. It's wild. So the Spice Girls eventually are just getting kind of cabin fever, and they're kind of getting cooked up with being on this tour bus. So eventually, Ginger is yelling how she kind of wants to get off of the bus. And I think it's because of the kids. They end up asking the Spice Girls, like, "Hey, what do you guys do outside the tour bus?" So Mel B goes on to open this window and notice outside that there is a boat nearby, this yacht or whatever. So Mel B is going to go on and take an advantage of this opportunity for them to have some fun. And so Mel B tells the rest of the Spice Girls, "Hey, when we notice that the tour bus has stopped, we're going to run out of the tour bus and just make a run for it. So, and don't think anything beyond just that." So, once the bus does finally stop, we have the girls and the kids all run out. Clifford is asking Deborah, "Hey, what are the Spice Girls doing?" And Deborah is saying, "Hey, they're just being spontaneous." And Clifford says, well, hey, if they want to be spontaneous, then they need to go on and alert me that they're going to go on and be able to do so. And immediately it's like, well, that's not really being spontaneous then. Like that's being planned. So, which I thought was funny. So we have Piers and the cameraman. They get out of their van and they try to follow the Spice Girls on another boat. So we have this guy that is manning this boat. So everybody has life preservers on. So we have Pierce and his camera crew just kind of following the Spice Girls, and he's mentioning about how, like, hey, isn't this great? We have girl power and horsepower. So Clifford is just kind of curious why exactly the Spice Girls decided to go on a boat of all things. And like if anything, like he would go on to know so many other uh bands that when they want to kind of cut loose, like they would go on to like really wreak havoc or really go on and do some crazy things, but just kind of being on a boat, that's not really crazy enough. So we all of a sudden, as the Spice Girls are on this boat, eventually we would come to find that the Spice Girls is on this boat are to make their way to this log that's kind of floating. So Clifford and Deborah are shouting at the Spice Girls, "Hey, like you're gonna hit in this log!" So the driver goes on and misses the log just in time, but has to swerve so quickly that it knocks some people off the boat. So I think we find that Posh and the two kids are kind of on the water, and Sporty, because of course she's sporty, but if anything, because Mel C, Sporty is a good person anyways. So immediately Sporty goes on and dives right into the water and tries to save Posh and tries to save the kids from drowning, obviously. So Piers and the camera crew are like, oh man, this is a real drama. We need to cover this. So what ends up happening is Pierce ends up getting knocked off of the boat because of the cameraman just trying to like get their shot in. So Pierce ends up getting knocked out of the boat and he ends up getting dragged out of the water and he ends up getting saved. So Sporty realizes that their life preservers are actually can help them float really well. So Sporty realizes that she didn't exactly need to go on and jump in the water to save anybody from drowning because if anything, like they float really well. So Sporty was like, "Oh, so like I just jumped into water for absolutely nothing." So Clifford talking to Deborah is kind of concerned because he's like, "Well, man, these two kids just went into the water under the Spice Girls watch. I hope no one goes on and I hope no one covers this story." Then we see Damien in his scuba gear coming out of the water, and the next headline is Spice Girls in deep uh, boat drama. So, yeah, they covered it. And then the news covered it with boat drama. So, excuse me. So, Clifford ends up bringing up this newspaper to the Spice Girls, and eventually this leads to an argument, and the further and further they argue and yell, uh, the Spice Girls are mentioning how like they went on and they did that whole boat thing because they no longer have a life, and Clifford says like, well, hey, like, if anything, I need to make sure that you're safe, and I need to make sure um, that you're able to go on and do every bit of thing that we need for you. Because if anything, like you're part of a well-oiled machine, um, well-oiled global machine. So they continue to talk about butts here. They talk about butts or cheeks or some kind of weird goofy butt thing. And the further they keep talking about butts, eventually I think Posh chimes in. It's like, hey, can we stop talking about butts here? This is so weird. You guys keep bringing up butts. So the further and further they just keep arguing, this eventually separates the Spice Girls and Clifford from wanting to go on and do anything here. So the Spice Girls walk away. So at this point, Clifford is be yelling and screaming, and so Clifford goes on and is to shortly after his screaming, he goes on and he calls the chief, and the chief asks him like, "Hey, how's everything going?" And Clifford is like, "Oh yeah, everything's fine." And the chief is like, "No, it's not fine." And Clifford is like, "Yeah, no, it's not fine." So so the chief ends up asking like, "Well, hey, how bad is it?" And Clifford is like, "Well, yeah, it's worse than you think." And so the chief and Clifford are trying to spitball about how they can go on, or how they can keep the show going on. And Clifford is like, "Well, hey, even if I need to get 4 friends and I need to dress up like Victoria, like the show will go on." And the chief is like, "Well, I hope it doesn't come to that." So, and funny enough, like Damien is in the background, just kind of with camera and hearing all this. So we're now back with Brad and Kevin. So Kevin is who have finally overheard that the Spice Girls may be breaking up. So Kevin is like, "Well, hey, what's weird going on with my face?" And then he's all of a sudden smiling and like, "Ah." He's like, "I'm smiling. That's what's wrong with my face." Ah. So he's happy. He's smiling. So, and that is to be the big story. So now we have Jerry. She's going on. She's watching some old movie. I honestly think this exact movie I had gone on and seen in some other film that someone was watching. I don't know what it is with this specific film, but I want to go on and figure out where exactly this film was used elsewhere because I know it was used somewhere else. So Jerry is upset while watching a movie, and then we cut to a very long time ago. Here is where this coffee shop owner, Brian, is going on and serving all the Spice Girls this coffee, and they ask Brian, I know this is the way I say it, they end up saying the word slate, but I'm going to say tab here. Because the Spice Girls are hoping that they can pay Brian later because they don't have the money now. So they tell him, hey, like, can you, like, basically put up a tab for us so that we can pay for these coffees later? And Brian's like, yeah, you don't know how this works. So the Spice Girls say that they're going on and they're trying to get some music career going. And Brian ends up mentioning it's like, well, hey, what kind of music is it? Is that new hip hop? Like, if anything, like I like jazz, so maybe you should do more jazz. So now we have Baby Spice, and she's brushing her teeth in a robe, and we have Posh. She's in a bath, just gonna like I'm just thinking about my life. And we have Scary Spice, and she's in a bed. She's sleeping. She's having a good old sleep. So so we have, I think, a person who I believe is Nicola. She's going on and she's taking this boombox or this stereo, and she's putting this tape on, and the the Spice Girls, I guess, are performing for the very first time this song of theirs. So uh this is, of course, the song where it's like, I'll tell you what I want, what I really, really want. Yeah, I'll tell you what I want, what I really want. Yeah, that song. So, if you want to be my lover, gotta get with my friends. Yeah. So, uh, so they sing this song and then they're dancing and they're pointing, and so they're hoping that their song is gonna get into the top 20. So we now have Sporty Spice, and she has this volleyball and she has this jersey on, and she's like, like I'm just looking off the distance. So all of the Spice Girls go on to eventually make their way to what was Brian's coffee shop, to find that it's abandoned and it's not a coffee shop anymore, that it's sold out, something or other. So because there's a sign that says sold out, and Sporty Spice is looking at it. So I don't know what that means. Oh no, it's just a bunch of posters that have the Spice Girls logo on it and says it's sold out. So I don't know what's going on here. But if anything, maybe this concert was by this coffee shop. Either way, it's no longer a coffee shop. So they all make their way to this coffee shop, and they talk, man, like this coffee shop isn't there anymore. And uh, Emma is like, well, yeah, I think we do definitely own O'Brien quite a bit of coffees because we never really paid because we didn't have the money to. So so they were just kind of curious whatever happened to Brian, but there's nothing they can do now about it. So they walk off, and they're just kind of curious that they want to all get some chips together. Basically means get some French fries. So whatever, it doesn't really matter. So let me pause here for a second. Okay, I didn't know exactly how to phrase this next scene, so I just had to take a moment. So the girls sitting on this bench are kind of curious if they've changed as people. That the first thing that they would ever be really concerned about was how to get from meal to meal or day to day. But now all they've been really concerned about is what's their next single and how they can keep making music. And they're worried that at some point that they're going to go on and they're just going to start making horrible music. So cut to all the Spice Girls around this judge, and this judge is going on and saying that they're all guilty of having a really bad new single, and that eventually this will lead um, them to go on to the charts at number 179, and they will even drop further in the following week. So, and that'll be their sentence for the next 20 years of just horrible songs, I guess. So, and then the guy calls in to talk to Hootie and the Bluefish, but he ends up calling it differently. He ends up saying Hootie and the like Hootie or Hutu and the Bluefish or something. He says something weird. So the girls start to realize that they don't have time for anybody anymore, or they don't have time for their friends. And they're like, yeah, like we just spent a little time with Nicholas or Nicola, and like, you know what, we should probably spend more time with her because she's having her baby soon, and we probably won't be able to spend any time with her once that happens. So, but they're also like realizing that there's going to be a show on tomorrow, and that if Clifford knew that they were going on and doing any of this, he would probably lose his mind. And but if anything, anyways, they're going to go on and they're going to find Nicola and they're going to just party it out. So we now find Clifford and Deborah, and they're both at this bar. And Deborah's like, "Well, yeah, I thought I'd find you here." So Clifford mentions like, "Oh, okay, good. So I won't be the only depressed person in this room." So Deborah goes on to mention about how like she only has to really get a point of caring about what Sporty Spice is wearing, and talking about how she feels that fame is a certain way. So eventually they start to go on and they start to talk about how telling the tale of lost lovers, and talking about a possibility of ruining their professional relationship and just having a really good time for one night. And Clifford is like, well, hey, I'd be into that if you want to go on and just kind of throw away your professional life for just one night. So when Clifford and Deborah meet the following day at the show, like Deborah goes on and asks Clifford, it's like, well, hey, are you? How are you? And Clifford is just like, well, bad because the girls aren't even here. And so Deborah ends up kind of getting upset and she ends up walking off. And then Clifford has to realize that he has to apologize to Deborah. And eventually gets back to a point of kind of a reset where Deborah's like, well, yeah, like I think like we realized that our professional lives like it was perfect the way it was, and it shouldn't be anything more than that. But then Clifford ends up saying the word like "I love you," and then like she's like, What did you say?" And he's like, "Oh." So the girls go on and they make their way to this club with Nicola, and eventually they go on to realize that in the club they're going on and they're playing this song, and Nicola ends up asking the girls like, "Well, hey, like who's this song they're playing?" And Mel B is like, "Well, yeah, of course it's ours. It's our song." So Nicola goes on and tells the girls to just dance on the dance floor, as she's gonna go on and just kind of be on her own. Because she I guess can't really dance at this point, because yeah, because she's in such a late pregnancy. So the girls all get on the dance floor and they all start dancing it out. So Nicola's going on and drinking. She's of course not drinking alcohol because baby. So she's drinking and she's like, "Hey, yeah, hi, yeah." So as the girls further dance and sing and whatever, all of a sudden they notice, or Baby Spice notices that Nicola is kind of just kind of like thriving over. It's like, ha, like, whoo. And so as soon as Baby Spice noticed that, she alerts everyone else around her, hey, Nicola is kind of going down. She's like kind of, she's kind of like just, like she, it looks like she's having some problems over there, so let's run over and let's get to her. So the girls all run over to Nicola, and they didn't see how far along she was. And so yeah, like if if anything, if she was kind of due any day now, you would think that these girls would not go on and bring this girl to a club. Come on. That wouldn't be the best environment to deliver a baby. So Nicola is to go on and think that they probably need to make their way to the emergency room. And so they realize that they need to call an ambulance. But instead, we have Sporty Spice that goes on and tells Dennis, and Dennis takes this the wrong way. Sporty goes on and gets to Dennis and mentions how, like, hey, like, we're having a baby, and Dennis is like, all of you at the same time? Like, hilarious. Good job by Sporty and Meatloaf here. So, Sporty just goes on and tells Meatloaf or Dennis, like, hey, whatever, like, if anything, just kind of get the bus ready to go to the hospital. And so Dennis is like, okay. So they drive, and we have Nicola, and so Jerry is going on and she's mentioning about how she knows like these uh certain remedies for like home birth. And so Jerry's going on and she's wearing these yellow gloves, which I thought was funny. So Jerry's going on and telling Nicola about breathing. And all of a sudden in the background, we have some of the girls who are like breathing hard, like Posh is breathing hard. Like, is Posh pregnant or is Nicola pregnant? So Jerry goes on and she tells Nicola to keep her legs closed, and Scary goes on and mentions like, well, yeah, if only she would have kept her legs closed, uh she wouldn't have she wouldn't have had this problem in the first place 9 months ago. So I thought that was a pretty good joke. So Jerry also goes on and she's screaming at the baby from a somewhat distance that they're not ready for her for the baby now. So it's like, well, wait. So they make it to the hospital, and all of a sudden, all the Spice Girls are around Nicola, and they're telling her to push. And all of a sudden this nurse comes in and they're like, what are you guys doing? And the girls are all like, well, I thought that we should just have her push now. And she's like, no, like, don't have her push now. So the nurse just walks away. So here's all of a sudden we cut to where the Spice Girls are all just waiting for this baby to get delivered. And we all of a sudden have this random couple that goes to the Spice Girls and says, hey, yeah, we have a son here that is in a coma. And we hope that maybe hearing you, the Spice Girls' voice, would wake him out of it. And so, oh, they say that he's unconscious, but I say a coma. It's probably the same thing. So I thought that this spot was kind of funny because Posh immediately comes in and she's screaming into the boy's ear her name, thinking because maybe that'd be a better way to hear him. So as the further and further that they're all talking, at one point there's a joke for one of the girls to take off her top. And funny enough, that ends up being the one thing where the boy immediately opens his eyes for. It's like, hey, maybe he's not unconscious after all. So, yeah, the girl making a joke about taking her top off was the winning over thing. So, now we have the girls that are surrounding Nicola, and they're all like they're all going on and having their stories uh about their mothers, going on and talking about how when their moms delivered them, the Spice Girls, how their mothers would go on to say how it's like passing a football, or how it's like passing a block of flats with balcony, whatever that is. So they're going on and they're talking about uh how wonderful motherhood is and how grateful it that that people should be, blah blah blah. So all of a sudden Mel B ends up getting a phone call from Deborah. And so Mel is going on and explaining about how they're in the hospital and there's no exact time of when they're going to go on and have this baby to be delivered, and if they'll be able to go on and make the concert or not. So Deborah goes on and gives Clifford the news, and Clifford's like, wait a minute, like, this is the 90s. Like, we should have all kinds of ways of delivering a baby so easily. Just whatever. So Clifford is saying to Deborah, it's like, well, you know what? I think the Spice Girls are just doing this to spite me. Like, so Deborah just goes on and she just walks off after like Clifford is like, well, yeah, like I won't feel spited by this, but like I like like basically Clifford is like, yeah, I'm not gonna sell that they're trying to just do all this to upset me, and I'm not gonna sell it. I'm not gonna sell that I'm upset, but he really is. So so the girls, considering like they have nothing better to do, they're all of a sudden playing I Spy, and they say that they spy something in their eyes that begins with an H, and immediately it's like hospital. It's like it's the only thing they're really seeing. So one of the nurses turns to the other nurses and mentions how she's gonna go on and she's gonna go to the Spice Girls concert, and she turns to the Spice Girls and says, "Hey, I hope I'll see you guys all later," as she's leaving. So Nicola tells the girls that they shouldn't all be here, that they should be making their way to the show, because that's more important than just kind of waiting for a pregnancy. But the girls are like, no, like we all said that we'd stay, so we're gonna stay. So Nicola's finally getting her contractions coming in, and the nurse says that she's dilated enough, it's time for her to deliver the baby. So Clifford ends up going on and calling Jerry, and eventually the conversation ends up getting kind of quickly cut off because of course like Jerry wants to go on and watch the delivery of the baby. So Clifford all of a sudden meets up with Graydon and Martin, and they want to sell uh of course Clifford on another movie. So and this time around basically the movie is the exact same thing that we're kind of seeing here as far as the pitch goes. So excuse me, we now have Pierce, and he's going on and he's talking about how there's a possibility uh, that they're minutes before this performance is going on, and if the Spice Girls aren't there, that things will be kind of in really a really bad shape. So the Spice Girls are all going on and watching this baby come out of a human being. So they end up seeing the baby and they look at it and it's a girl, and so they're saying like how this is really girl power, and so they realize that they all need to run out of there. All of a sudden they notice Damien, the camera guy, and so they point at him and like, hey, yeah, you were the camera guy that's been following us around. So the Spice Girls are all going on and they're chasing down Damien as he's running away. And Damien gets an accident where he bumps his head and he's on the ground. And so the Spice Girls all surround him. And so Graydon is saying what is all transpiring within this movie now, and he's saying all this stuff word for word. Damien goes on to say to the Spice Girls that he's turned over a new leaf and he's finally been convinced now uh, to do the right thing. So we'll come to find out that Damien will go on and use a newspaper article to do a scandal on Kevin, the guy who is to be the guy who owns the daily event. So oddly enough, so the next thing that Graydon talks about is all the girls making their way back to the tour bus, but Dennis, the bus driver, is not there. So the Spice Girls are very upset that the bus driver is not there. So Posh decides to take the wheel and starts driving. Dennis realizes that his bus has been driven away, so he of course gets very upset. So Posh is going on and she's driving like a mad woman, and I didn't want to say madman, I want to say mad woman. So like she's going on and she's trying to get everybody ahead of her to drive faster, and so weirdly enough, we have Graydon that is mentioning about how the Spice Girls are driving past Buckingham Palace, And weirdly enough, the prince and queen are supposed to notice the Spice Girls, and the Spice Girls are to be popping out of this window and waving to the queen and the prince and the whatever. Which was really just like a cheesy way of how they try to accomplish this. It's kind of stupid. So all of a sudden, every one of the Spice Girls, except for Spot Posh, who's driving the tour bus, is all of a sudden on the very top of the bus. Clifford ends up asking Graydon why exactly are all the girls on top of the bus, and he can't explain why, but he says, well, like the reason why they're all on top of the bus is because rules. Rules, I don't know why, but rules, I guess. Like they just have to do just something like exciting here because there's nothing else better going on. So there is at one point where Posh supposedly like stops the bus so quickly that all of the Spice Girls all of a sudden just dump back into the tour bus and they all fall back into the tour bus. So we now have Posh that notices that the bridge that they're going to have to drive over, like the bridge is getting to a point where it's going up for whatever reason. And so the Spice Girls realize that they need to get to this live performance. So Posh is to go on and be very tempted to just jump the gap. So, and Great is mentioning that Posh and the Spice Girls are going to jump this gap. And so Clifford is like, yeah, they definitely need to jump this gap. It'll be exciting. Yeah, let's go, go, go. So Graydon and Martin are realizing that this whole thing of this Spice Girls bus needing to jump this bridge is probably going to be a very expensive effect for the movie to try to shoot. So what eventually ends up happening is they basically rig a toy version of a toy bus jumping over the bridge. That's basically what they do here. They basically like they didn't CGI it or anything. They just really got like a toy version of these. We obviously see that it's a toy version, and I think I thought that was funny because it's like yeah, like they do a toy version, and it's obviously a toy version. So next, Graydon mentions after they have survived the jump of gap of bridge. Graydon mentions that all of a sudden at the very bottom of the bus, there all of a sudden is a bomb. The girls can open this hatch up to eventually reveal there being a bomb at the bottom of the bus. Clifford loses it and ends up grabbing Graydon. It's like, wait a minute, like why is there a bomb at the bottom of the bus? And Graydon's like, well, rules. And it's like, no, no, there's a bomb at the bottom of the no why. So if anything, Graydon's like, okay, wait, let's just cut to like the girls are going on and they're making their way to the performance. Like they make it here just in nick of time, and they're now just running um into this door, and here they are all now here. So Clifford is just looking at the door. It's like, hey, are they coming? And they don't. So Clifford is like, you lied to me. And then Clifford's like grabbing Graydon and he's choking him. So now there's everybody in attendance and they're all chanting Spice Girls, Spice Girls. So the girls finally get out of the tour bus. They're running like mad. They all of a sudden get stopped by these police officers. And now they have to go on and figure out what to tell these police officers as he's going on and giving up all these like these goofy charges like dangerous driving, criminal damage, uh, flying a bus without a license, and frightening pigeons. All right, so here's what happens. So Baby Spice goes in front of this cop and it mentions like, "Oh yeah, we'll never go on, we'll never do this again. And if anything, we would just had to hurry because of this live performance." And so all of a sudden, as Baby Spice is rattling all this off, we now have the cop that has this nightstick, and he's like, and so we immediately realize that the cop is just going to let the Spice Girls just like, okay, like I'll let you off with a warning this time, and not charge them with anything because it's Baby Spice. So we are now at a point here where Clifford is telling the documentary guys, you know what? Like, I have a perfect way to finish off this documentary. So Clifford is to say, it's like, hey, I'm gonna go out there, I'm gonna go to the audience, and I'm going to hang myself. And the last words I'll go on and I'll say to the Spice Girls is, I hate them. Then all of a sudden, all the girls start rushing through the door, and Clifford's like, I love these girls, I love them. And so he's like, well, I got, and so Pierce is like, well, I guess we won't have like a really dramatic end to this documentary then, because Clifford won't be able to have done that. So the girls are all talking about what clothes they need or what kind of bacon booties that they need or some goofy crap like that. So all the girls are ready to just kind of get into their gear, and so Clifford is called the chief and mentioned that the girls have made it just in the nick of time, and so Chief is going on and saying like, well, yeah, we definitely need to go on and enjoy this triumph while we can. So we now have Clifford and he's talking to Deborah, and he's trying to figure out how to say the words of that he's going to apologize to Deborah, but he wants to break it down like, when someone wants to go on and tries to figure out a way to like surmise without saying actually apologizing or I'm sorry, that he wanted to try to figure out how to say to Deborah how he wants to apologize. So Deborah goes on and takes Clifford's apology and then mentions how like it's fine if they just want to go on and just have uh, a just professional relationship, and then she walks off and he says, I love you. And Deborah's like, what? So the Spice Girls all get out there, and we have Clifford, Martin, and Graydon, and they're all in the stands. And Martin, the movie producer, ends up asking Clifford, it's like, well, hey, like, do we have a movie to shoot or do we have a movie to shoot? And Clifford's like, yeah, we definitely have a movie to shoot. So, like, the guys are all happy, they're all high fiving. So, the girls go on and they end up singing Spice Up Your Life. It's the first song that they sing here. So, while that's going on, we have everybody just kind of going on of like, yeah, yeah. So, we have Dennis, he's in the background and he's going on, he's doing the yeah, 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 and singing along and everything like that, which is great. We have Deborah and Clifford in the stands. They're dancing along. We even have the chief, and he's in the background dancing along. We have Nicola with her baby and the nurse. They're going on and they're, I guess, watching this on the TV. Like, I don't quite get it. We have this news anchor that's going on and dancing also. We have all the aliens from the moon or something, some planet, and they're going on and they're dancing with these Spice Girl shirts on. We have Martin, we have Graydon, they're hugging one another and dancing. I don't know. Clifford is going on and doing more dancing. Uh, and so, like, the girls go on and they sing this song, and then eventually everything just stops afterwards. cut to now, like the behind the scenes of the movie. So Graydon and Damien is talking about how like he eventually wants his character, like, because his character is so evil that he's concerned that if he plays such a bad guy that people will go on and find him just out in the streets anywhere and hate him and just and chase after him and everything like that. So Graydon's like, well, yeah, like maybe we'll go on and we'll give your character some kind of just climax to kind of just resolve you being such a bad guy. So cut to now the actor who is to be going to be portraying Clifford, and so this guy is going on and mentioning about how like he's on the mobile phone and he's getting angry all the time, and he doesn't want this role to probably end his career. So we have the guys who are to have gone on and been the documentary team, and the guy who is playing Pierce is to mention about how he has this wig chest hair, and he's curious if he should have it or not. So he's going on further and asking people advice if he should have the chest wig or not. So we then have all the Spice Girls getting together around Pierce, or the actor that's playing Pierce, and they're meeting up with the actress who's playing Deborah and meeting up with her and saying like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to be portraying the girl Deborah," and they're like, "Oh, okay, great." So and then the Spice Girls are all meeting up with the guy who is portraying Graydon, mentioning about all their characters, and so Scary is going on and mentioning how she has this weird catchphrase that just doesn't quite make sense. That she has to say, "I'm not from London," because she's actually from a separate part of the same place, but not from London. So, and then here's where Sporty mentions from Graydon how it's like, "Yeah, make sure that I am on here and I'm not on the exercise bike too often." So I think I only saw like two scenes where she was on the bike. So maybe that wasn't often enough. Maybe it was too often. I don't know. So eventually the Spice Girls realize that there's a camera in front of them, and they are supposedly seeing into the movie audience that is seeing this movie, I guess. So they're going on and they're now pinpointing like certain people supposedly in the audience. They're mentioning how some people are good looking, and they're pointing people out. That some people are good dressers and weird, goofy crap like this. So eventually, how this is to all go on and get wrapped up for this film is we I think have Sporty go on and be like, yeah, you know what? Like I know what all the audience members are probably thinking. Whatever happened to that bomb on the bus? And then all of a sudden they turn, and then the bus, I guess, supposedly explodes, and that's how they wrap the movie up, and they finally get into credits, and then like the movie is over. So holy crap, I spent 2.5 hours on this, so I spent an hour over what the movie was. Oh well, I'm sure a lot of people probably just check out the first 30 seconds of this anyways. I really did not want to go on and redo this review, because really I was to go on and just be worried, because I was honestly kind of yawning while I was doing this review. I was like, man, like I hope that I'm gonna kind of get this all done, because otherwise, like I'm just gonna have to do this tomorrow. But luckily I got this done tonight, so that's good. So I'm happy that I got it done at least. But like I didn't want to go on and take this long, but oh well. Anyways, like this is gonna be a review. This is gonna be out there. This is gonna be uploaded. So hopefully this does a thing. Like, man, I have been very lucky lately that my videos have actually been doing surprisingly really well, or just surprisingly people keep watching them. So I am absolutely grateful for everyone going on and doing so. Hopefully, I'll keep going on and picking the right projects to do. So hopefully, this might be one of those, or it might be one of those where no one gives a shit about it, and that's okay, because eventually I'll just keep pining away. I'll just keep trying to see what works, and hopefully that'll end up being um, whatever the project is after this, because I keep having to keep doing these things, and I need to keep working, and I need to keep doing these projects. So hopefully I'll go on. Also, I'll probably need to make more videos than just this, because I'm sure tomorrow I'll need to do another kind of comic book thing, and probably another maybe I don't know. Maybe I'll end up just doing a video, or a video of comic books, so I can kind of just um, not have to do two videos in one day after doing this, which is a lot. Um, but if anything, I hope this does well. I hope this does a thing, because really, I'm hoping to just keep this momentum. I'm hoping I'm going to continue to just keep choosing the right things, luckily, and hopefully that continues to happen. So, because my plan is to eventually kind of like I'm gonna soon go on and review Mission Impossible 2, because that seems to have gotten on my radar as something that people are interested in. But more than likely, by the exact day that I go on and do that, that'll be the day that all of a sudden Mission Impossible 2, like, no one cares about it anymore. So that's gonna suck. But if anything, I feel like I'm gonna jump on that at some point soon. But I wanted to try this out first. So eventually, I will go on and do Mission Impossible 2. Then I will go on as far as reviews, because I'm sure I'll kind of in between I'll do so many other projects and so many other videos. After that, I still hope to go on and do some certain projects that I've kind of been over time continued to mention, that at some point I was going to do. Uh, but I don't want to mention them because I've mentioned them so consistently in other videos that I've kind of like, am I ever going to get those projects? I hope so. I haven't found a single thing that is to be trending from any of my uh, movie physical media things, so that really is concerning. That it's like, man, I've probably done on there like hundreds of titles, and it's surprising that nothing at all. Either that, or it's like maybe if you like put so many tags on something, like maybe nothing counts anymore. Um, I don't know. I don't know how that works. Like, I don't get like where's the dissension of like where you should stop or whatever as far as tags go. I have no idea. But so yeah, so it's like it kind of sucks how it's like I can't find like at least like a couple of movies that are to go on and be like popular, so that helps me to just have some content in the bank of like, okay, I can do this first, I can do this next, I can do like, that's all I wanted to just kind of do. Those physical media things was to just find a handful of titles just to get me by, until I can come up with newer things. But oh well, I just don't have that safety net. So that's fine. Like, I have a safety net by just doing endless amounts of research, and just having a bunch of uh, thumbnails that I've already done. I've done a bunch of research on other movies and projects I can still do. So plus, also, there's still like a huge number of stuff that I can still pull from. Like Star Trek was doing surprisingly well. Like Sailor Moon, I could probably go back into that at any point in time and still just chip away at that and see how that goes. Um, Power Rangers is still a series that I need to cover. So yeah, so I have plenty of content to still cover. It's just uh like kind of where I feel is to be best suited for all that to go. It's just really hard to narrow that down and figure it all out. So, and that's why also like so much about this channel is so like these random ideas, more so than just sound like, okay, I'm gonna do this on Tuesday and I'm gonna do this on Thursday, and I don't have a perfect schedule, or like I haven't really thought everything through. Like if anything, I'm just kind of going by day to day, like what I think I can get done, and that's what's just thrown on the channel basically. So again, it's not well thought out. I realize that, but like I don't know, like I don't want to think also that I don't want to schedule what I'm doing either, um, because that'll just make me hate what I do. Um, because if I make a schedule, uh, if I say okay on Tuesdays it's going to be like Power Rangers on Tuesdays, or I say if it's on Wednesdays, then I'm going to do uh, a movie review, or on Fridays it's gonna be uh, like hey, here is 3 episodes of some random show that I'm like basically like pilot reviews or whatever. Um, like okay, hey, this is gonna be cartoon day, or this is gonna be uh what like yeah like if I go on and I narrow down exactly what all I'm doing on the days that I can do them, yeah, like eventually I'll just be like, well, I'm gonna start running out of ideas, or I'm just gonna start hating what I'm doing. Like it really will get to that point because like I did this so that way I can avoid making an actual schedule and needing to like carve out certain times and do this in a much more like free more manner, so that way it'll definitely help me be more creative instead of less. Uh, and also, I think that I think it's better when I'm kind of like back back against the wall, in instead of knowing that I have like something planned ahead of time. Because a lot of times, whenever I do even go on and plan that thing ahead of time, like I completely scrap it and I go with something completely different. Because yeah, like today I was thinking like, yeah, I'm gonna do Mission Impossible 2. Yeah, that's my idea. And then instead, Spice World came up. Spice World came up. Um, so yeah, so and I basically for Mission Impossible 2, I made that whole thumbnail and background. And I made that today, and I was thinking like, yeah, this is the plan. And then last second, I'm like, no, I Spice World. Like, I'll just do Spice World. That'll be fun. Um, I've already made all the thumbnails and everything like that, so all I need to do is just watch the movie and then review it. So, anyways, with that said, I'm gonna get the heck out of here. Thank you for listening to me, even if it's to be the first 20 to 30 seconds of the video, or hopefully it would be maybe a whole minute. I'd appreciate if people just watch the first minute of the video and then head out after that. Um, but I get it. Like, I'm sure the way I'm presenting these reviews, like also some people are probably hoping that maybe the movie would just be dropped on YouTube because somebody would bootleg it or whatever, and that's probably what a lot of people are hoping this is, because they don't read the titles, but I also got on to explain to people like how they can get Spice World. They could watch it, but people don't watch the video that long to get that information. And so that's the thing. So people go on and they get upset with me for how long the video is, and they watched like 20 seconds in anyways, so like how can you really be upset? Um, and then there's also like a person recently it's like like I can't really watch this content right now, but I just have to be forced to just watch your review. I'm like, no, you don't have to be forced to watch the review. Like, hey man, like I got you covered. Like, I'll give you a number of things to watch this show instead of listening to me. Because all I cared about was the fact that you had gone on and you were able to watch this movie or this show, whatever it freaking is, and you got something from what I said that had you either enjoy this piece of content um, or related to the fact that I enjoyed it, you enjoyed it, whatever. Um, but hey, if you don't want to listen to me for X number of hours or minutes or whatever, seconds, that's fine. Because really, I'm just going to keep going on and doing another video within the next following day or whenever. Like I'm just gonna keep churning all this content out like a crazed person, endlessly continuing to do this, because eventually I will find a piece of content that more people give a shit about, and yeah, like, um, and I will eventually help those people find where that is if they realize like, oh well, like you saw this movie but it's not available anywhere. Like, how is it that you saw this? Yeah, I saw it online. I saw it through these bootleg apps that I have. Like, I did this legwork, I did this research, I found these things. Anyone else can go on and do the exact same thing, um, but I'm here to point it out to you where it is to help you, because I'm just trying to share information. I'm trying to help people. And then in return, like, I don't know, like, I think that's kind of, do you get where I'm going with this? I hope you do. Like, I'm just trying to help. I'm just trying to, I'm just trying to, and I hope none of this is like, oh, well, yeah, you are really an a hole. What you are. Like there are people that go on and they come on the comments and they are very positive. Like someone will just be like hey, like I saw like one person like, hey, nice stream. Like I guess this is a stream. I guess like it's a video that wasn't exactly planned out. That's just a video. But then again, also it's very long, so I guess it's like a stream. So I don't know. Anyways, I'm gonna get out of here before I put my foot further in my mouth. Um, but then again, who's to know that any of this content on the back end really does exist? Um, like I think I would go on and probably see that the like, and this is the reason why I started doing them more. Was because some of the like the collection stuff, like the physical media stuff and the comic book stuff, people are actually going on into those videos and watching a good length of it compared to all the other reviews that I've ever gone on to do. That says a lot. That it's like, oh, like people actually may have really liked those. Um, or there are actual people that want to go on and actually watch the content that I do, but it isn't reviews. So that probably says a lot about this channel. That's like I'm doing a thing of content that no one actually wants to watch. So maybe I should have gone on and done something else with this channel, but Like there's nothing else that uh would have been like something that I can keep consistently doing. Because at some point I would just come to a stopping gap to anything else. Um, but also surprisingly, like some of the review stuff is is somewhat doing well. Somewhat, yeah, it's surprisingly doing well. Like the first contact thing, wow, that Star Trek first content, wow, that was that probably tells me hopefully I can keep doing Star Trek content. Or maybe that was just a lucky thing. I don't know. Like I don't know, and feasibly I'll just say it's like, well, that helps me realize that I can experiment, that I can see what comes out of that, and hopefully uh, that continues to do well. I'll justify keep continue watching it. Um, I need to figure out what to do with that content because like it's been 2 days now and I have not seen yet one thing of Star Trek that says like where should I go next. It doesn't say anywhere on YouTube's like things that I look into. None of it says anything of Star Trek, so I just have to just dart to a dartboard and be like, well, I have these costumes, I have these things, so should I do these seasons? I don't know. If anything, I'll just when I come back to Star Trek, I'm gonna have some ideas. I don't know, like yeah, I'm gonna get out of here because this is almost 3 hours. So goodbye, everybody. Goodbye, everybody. I apologize for me completely putting my foot in my mouth, but I'm being honest every time I'm coming on here. Um, and yeah, some of it may go on and be like the performance aspect of this, but like I'm also giving you my honest thoughts and my honest takes. And so yeah, so bye everybody. Bye everybody.